Our mission is, well, pretty straightforward. We dig into a pile of sources, find the really key bits of knowledge and insight, and bring them right to you.
Yeah, think of it as us wading through all the noise to get to the core stuff. We're here to guide you through what we found in the material you shared.
Exactly. And today we're diving into the story of a, really captivating figure in the watch world.
Mm.
Someone known for huge success, but also for this totally unique personality, Nico Leonard.
And the source material we have for this deep dive, it's actually quite revealing. We're working with bits from a recent YouTube interview transcript where he, really opens up.
Yeah, he shares a lot about his life story, even his deepest insecurities, stuff he hasn't maybe talked about quite like this before.
Right, so this isn't just about fancy watches.
Not at all. It's more a story about, dreams getting shattered, bouncing back from pretty major failure, building something from basically zero, and finding this surprising, sometimes painful path to not just success, but real purpose.
It gets quite vulnerable, covers his background, his businesses, those really personal struggles. A fascinating look at resilience, really.
It is. So where does this story kick off? The interview takes us back to his youth in Amsterdam first. Then there's this really pivotal move to Northern Ireland.
And that move, according to him, wasn't just random. It came from this, desperate need for something different. He talks about feeling unhappy, lost.
Yeah, wanting to get away from maybe some negative influences.
Yeah.
And just wanting to achieve something, feel happy, which he said he wasn't.
And that big chance to achieve something, it was professional football. He got this opportunity in Northern Ireland, packed his bags, moved, put everything into it.
But this is where the story takes its first really brutal turn. He breaks his ankle.
And not after a year or something, within the first month of being there.
It's just gone. The whole reason for this massive life upheaval crushed instantly. He talks about it being absolutely devastating. Left a big void, he says.
And the medical side he shares is particularly tough. They thought it was a straightforward surgery, on his left knee, a meniscus thing.
Okay.
But during the operation, they found something much worse, a problem they couldn't fix with just that simple procedure.
Oh, no. So what did that mean?
It meant a full knee reconstruction. And the prognosis, maybe a 5–10% chance of playing football ever again.
And he's only 17 at this point.
Exactly. He talks about how raw that moment was, seeing his dad cry for the first time ever, the physical pain, the emotional pain. It was like nothing he'd known.
Questioning everything even.
Yeah, even God, asking for a sign, some help in that, total desperation.
Imagine being 17, dealing with that level of pain, that kind of existential crisis. He says he felt completely unequipped for those emotions.
And the weight of it lasted. He mentions carrying this burden for years, feeling he'd let his parents down.
Because they'd sacrificed so much for this football dream.
Right. Cleared the path, supported him, and then it just vanished. That feeling of disappointment stuck with him. It's a real insight into maybe the hidden cost when things don't work out.
So the football dream is completely off the table,
Yeah.
Shattered. Where do you even begin to go from there, especially at 17, feeling like you failed everyone?
Well, the sources show his struggles weren't just on the pitch. School wasn't great either. He says he ended up with no diplomas.
And jobs.
Every single job he tried after that, he got fired. All of them.
Wow. Any idea why?
He points to a couple of things himself. A real problem with authority, apparently, and always being late. Just couldn't quite fit into that traditional employment mold.
There's that one story he tells, right, about quitting a job.
Oh, yeah, the resignation anecdote. He remembers driving into work, parking the car underground, getting out.
And just knowing.
Yeah, having this absolute certainty right then and there that it was his last time being in that building. And 15 minutes later, he'd resigned.
That really shows that struggle with the 9-to-5, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe hints at needing a different kind of path.
Definitely. That pattern seems important for understanding what came next.
So football's gone, jobs aren't working, feeling lost.
Mm-hmm.
This is where watches come in, right?
Yeah.
The unexpected turn.
Exactly. Driven by something that was a lifelong passion, watches. He'd actually been tinkering with them for a while.
Like fixing them up?
Yeah, fixing and repairing them, sort of a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Made a bit of money, but, not enough to live on. He knew that.
So he looks at this world he loves, the watch world, and thinks maybe selling instead of just fixing.
Right. A strategic shift.
Well,
But the way he started the business is, well, it's something.
no business plan, he says, for any company.
No, never. His entire plan was basically, I want to be in the watch world. That was it.
So he just jumped.
Pretty much. Straight is. He even lists the first watches he bought to sell: a Tudor Pelagos, a Breitling Navitimer, and a Rolex Datejust.
And that phrase he uses.
Straight in, no kissing, no plan B.
Yeah.
Love that. No safety net. No backup if it all went wrong. It speaks volumes about maybe the desperation or just the sheer conviction needed to take that leap.
Yeah, especially when nothing else seemed to be working out. Bold.
Incredibly bold, almost impulsive, maybe like that resignation, but channeled differently this time. But going from selling a few watches out of his car to a proper business, that was a whole other challenge.
He does say he got help early on, right, from incredible people.
He does, yeah. He credits others. But the very beginning sounds incredibly precarious, selling expensive watches literally out of my car as a foreigner.
He thought it was mad people trusted him.
Yeah. He points out how easy it would have been to cheat someone, swap a real watch for a fake.
Yeah.
Building that initial trust, seemingly just on personality and passion, must have been key.
And then taking the plunge on a physical shop. That was a huge financial risk.
Massive. He spent something like £25,000 or £26,000 fitting it out.
Which was basically all the money he had.
His last money, he calls it. Says he had to sell everything he owned to fund that shop. Again, just burning the boats. Total commitment.
And the period after opening it sounds intense.
Oh, the grind. The sources paint a picture of real isolation and effort. He sat in that shop alone for 2.5 years.
Every single day.
Every day, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sundays included, just sitting there trying to sell watches.
He mentions how basic it was at first, too. Like, no card machine.
Yeah, no card machine initially. And he talks about the physical toll, basically not seeing daylight for years. It wasn't glamorous startup life. It was grueling, solitary.
That really highlights something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Success isn't just the big idea. It's often built on that kind of relentless, unseen, lonely hard work.
Absolutely. And as things started to pick up from that phase, he hit another realization. A crucial one for growth.
That he couldn't keep doing it all himself.
Exactly. To really scale, he needed to change how he thought about it. He has that quote, you're only as good as the people you have around you.
And he seems quite self-aware about his own style. Calls himself chaotic.
Probably the most chaotic person on the planet, is how he puts it. Admits he's not great at organizing things.
But he counters that with commitment, right? Once he starts something.
He finishes it, yeah. It's that classic entrepreneurial thing, isn't it? Big vision, lots of drive, but needing others for the structure and details.
So the team becomes essential because everyone has different strengths.
And he sees, recognizing that knowing when someone else is better at something and relying on them as a mark of a good businessman, not trying to be everything.
And the sources suggest that's how it works now. With people like Steven managing James on photos.
Yeah, admin, staff handling offers, even parts of his personal life. It sounds like a system designed to support his energy, but provide the organization he admits he lacks.
Okay, so things are building. Business is growing off that incredibly tough start. And 2020 happens. COVID-19 hits.
And the impact, he says, was immediate and severe. COVID changed my life. Business just stopped. Nobody was buying luxury watches.
His reaction sounds like pure panic.
Totally. He started selling off stock, taking big losses, just desperate for cash flow. And he admits in that first week of lockdown, he basically gave up on the company.
Wow, that feeling of failure again.
Came roaring back. He felt he'd failed the game, was a disappointment again. He connects it right back to that deep-seated feeling he'd carried for so long, not being good enough, always having to fight. The crisis just ripped open those old wounds.
So he's facing another potential wipeout. Back at a kind of rock bottom after building it all up.
Yeah.
What pulls him out this time?
Well, after about a week, he says, of feeling sorry for himself, something clicked. He minded up, and the key move, he called Steven.
Who was working at Goldsmiths then, a big retailer.
Right. And he seriously asked him to jump ship and join his much smaller, struggling business.
Even though he wasn't sure he could even pay him.
Exactly. Shows the desperation maybe, but also the conviction. They had maybe $250K left from selling stock, but it was vanishing fast. It was, like he said, basically do or die.
They needed a different way to reach people, right? Since retail was dead.
An alternative way of marketing, that's what they needed. To save the whole thing.
And the idea they came up with. YouTube.
He kind of jokes about feeling old starting it, how daunting it was, but he's crystal clear about what happened next.
He says it saved everything.
Saved my life, saved the business, gave everyone a job today. Pretty unequivocal.
And they found that niche quickly, didn't they? Roasting celebrity watches.
Yeah, that really took off. His personality just just clicked with that format. And interestingly, speaking of the channel's impact, he mentions getting his first lawsuit recently because of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he says he just laughed. Apparently, the person suing wasn't even the main focus of the video.
Oh.
But his takeaway from it is interesting, that success just attracts people trying to, grab a piece. And the more money involved, the more that seems to happen. A side effect of fame, maybe?
So after all the failures, the pivots, the crises, he reaches this point of major visibility. Most famous watch expert on the planet, some call him.
And he reflects on what that fame feels like. Calls it the biggest drug.
Strong words.
Yeah, he clarifies he doesn't mean literal drugs, says he doesn't have experience there, but emphasizes how addictive that validation, that attention can be. It gave him confidence, he says, he lacked for like 99% of his life.
A purpose, a voice.
Exactly. Things he felt he never had. He says it feels incredible, and he's incredibly grateful for it.
There's that interesting bit, too, about how he handled the money when it first started rolling in.
Oh, yeah, the spending phase.
Yeah.
Designer clothes, private jets, living that lifestyle, as he puts it.
But he saw it as something he needed to do.
Like getting it out of my system.
Right.
But what's really key here, and it loops back to the team, is who helped him stop?
His team again.
His team, his surroundings. He names people Steven, Johnny. His wife says they literally pulled me out of it, helped him wise up about money. So success itself brought new challenges, and he needed that support system to navigate those too.
And now, having built his success in watches, he's somehow found his way back to football.
Yeah, that first passion, Steven, his manager, apparently got him involved again.
Sponsoring a team.
Larne FC, yeah. A Northern Irish Premiership club. He sees it as things coming full circle. Life goes in mysterious ways, he says. You can't leave a passion in the past.
And it clearly means a lot to him personally.
Definitely. Meeting the players, being in that dressing room again, something he missed for years. That feeling of being part of something, he calls it special, unreal, especially after the solitary grind of building the business.
So his goal now is bringing passion to football, giving back.
Yeah, trying to make a small impact, add value to the community in Northern Ireland. It's like completing a circle, giving back to the place where his first dream died, but now from a position of strength and success.
It's quite a journey.
Yeah.
So looking back at all of it, the massive setbacks, the struggle, the near failures, the sheer effort, was it worth it? Does he think so?
He asks himself that in the interview, reflects on the misery, the tears, the pain.
And his answer?
Is incredibly clear and powerful. Every bit has brought me to where I am now. He wouldn't change it.
Wow. And he shares that really raw, vulnerable moment, too.
Oh, the mirror story, standing naked, looking at himself and feeling like, oh, his words were a fucking piece of shit. Believing nobody could feel worse than that in that moment. It's incredibly stark.
Just rock bottom self-worth.
Totally stripped bare. But the insight he pulls from that absolute low.
About self-love.
Yeah. The realization that you have to love yourself first. Because if you don't have that, how can you genuinely love anyone else? It connects that external fight for success to the internal journey.
So, looking at where he is now, the impact he's had.
He finds it a bit humbling, special.
And he contrasts it with where he started, right? Just wanting to sell watches in Belfast.
Exactly. That was the initial goal. Small scale. He never, ever thought he'd be remotely close to where he is now. He says he's living further than my dream has ever reached. Which is amazing when you think his first dream was football, and this path took him somewhere else entirely, somewhere bigger for him.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, what are the big takeaways you can pull from Nico Leonard's story? We've seen this incredible arc, haven't we? From that crushing early failure.
Through all the uncertainty, the struggle, that bold, unplanned pivot into watches.
Relentless hard work and isolation, then realizing the power of a team.
Weathering another huge crisis with COVID, finding a lifeline in YouTube.
And finally achieving massive success, figuring out how to handle it, give back, and even reconnect with that lost passion for football.
The insights that really stand out are just the sheer power of resilience when your main dream collapses. How crucial it is to adapt, to pivot hard when things go wrong.
And the absolute necessity of building and trusting a strong team. You can't do it alone.
Right. Plus, the courage needed to face those massive challenges, like COVID, even when you feel like throwing in the towel. And maybe most profoundly, how achieving big things seems tied to that internal journey of vulnerability and self-acceptance.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How does this story of overcoming huge setbacks, redefining success, finding self-worth beyond just one thing, and building that support network maybe resonate with challenges in your own life?
And maybe leave you with this thought, sparked by Nico's journey. If your biggest, most cherished dream was suddenly just gone, what forgotten passion or maybe totally unexpected path might actually be waiting to lead you somewhere even further, perhaps more fulfilling than you ever imagined?
Or, flipping that slightly, where in your own goals are you maybe trying to shoulder everything alone? How could accepting your own limits and really seeking out and leaning on others actually be the key that unlocks achievements far bigger than you could reach by yourself? Something to ponder.